So the first thing I wanted to talk about is some of the stuff that's going on in our school district because it's in the news. If you saw the newspaper this week, there's a front page, above fold, top story about the school district's response to some stuff that's gone on in the school district. And I want to talk about it first because it impacts all of us as residents in the school district, as taxpayers, and possibly as parents or grandparents of kids in our schools, and those kids are our future, right? I mean, how we educate them and how we arm them for the future really determines our future. But I also want to talk about it because there's some legislation that's pending in Topeka that I'm a big proponent of, that I've kind of joined the coalition to get passed. And I want to talk about what it actually does, not what, people say it does. So if you're sitting there thinking, what the heck's he talking about going on in our schools, I'll kind of catch you up. So last month, Mr. Zeck, who's with us today, during public comments, he shared a book, is Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, that was being taught to our high school sophomores. And he read one passage out of it, and I've since been sent many other passages out of it, so he didn't actually pick the worst one, if you ask me. But he picked a passage out of it, and he read it out loud. And the president of the board ended up storming out, he was just showing parents and showing the school board, this is what our kids are being taught. Since then, some other stuff has come out. One of our great school board members, Vanessa Reid, one of our new school board members, who I was out there campaigning for, and a bunch of people in this room were out there campaigning for, she went to the school library and found some anime books, manga, I guess is what you call a comic book that's an anime style, and they were frankly offensive. In fact, they were so offensive, she put them up on Facebook, and Facebook took them down because they violate community standards. And the community standards on Facebook is 13 or older. Anything you put on Facebook has to be appropriate for 13 or older. So this stuff was so shocking that even Mark Zuckerberg blushed and took it off Facebook. But that's what your tax dollars is paying for in our school. But I've been, since this has all occurred, I've been sent a lot of other stuff that has been, that's going on in our schools from other concerned parents. There's a book, it's called Twisted, that's being read out loud in 9th grade class, that's got a lot of sexual content, a lot of content about drug use. I don't know about you, but we've got a huge overdose problem in our town with young people overdosing on fentanyl and other drugs. I mean, we've had a lot of deaths from drug use. I personally don't want drug use normalized by being taught in our schools, in our books, and in the materials that we're teaching our kids. I've also received surveys that were given in class at the beginning of the school year by a couple teachers, asking kids not just to disclose their vaccine status, but the vaccine status of the family members in their house and the kids in their house. I've gotten pictures of teachers with BLM flags flying in their classrooms. I've gotten, we had a report last year, and thank God this principal has decided to move on. He's not going to be our school district anymore, but one of the principals was requiring that parents have vaccines in order to participate with their kids in school events. So there are a lot of concerns in our school, and of course the other side, the teachers unions, the superintendents and their friends in the Democratic Party are painting this as book banning. We're just trying to make a big pile out in the Leavenworth High School parking lot and burn books, because we're all arch conservative bomb throwers, and we just want to burn books. Well, I think that parents should have a say in the instruction of their children. And the parents whose kids are entrusted to that school all day, because that's what happens, right? When you put your kid on the bus or you drop your kid off at school, you are entrusting your child to the care the adults in that school until you come pick them up or they get back on the bus and they come home. So I think that parents should have some say in what happens to their kids while they're in the care of the school, while they're entrusted to the teachers and the principals and the superintendents in the school. And I linked to Vanessa Reid. I've talked at length to a couple other conservative school board members, and that's all they want. They want a review of the curriculum. They want the people that are responsible for bringing these materials in to come in and explain why they think these materials, maybe there's some, I don't have an educational degree. My degree's in history. So for all I know, there's some deep learning goal that can only be achieved by reading out loud in a class to kids a book about masturbation. I don't know. Maybe there's some educational principle I'm not aware of. Let's bring in the curricula writers, let's bring in the principal, let's bring in the teachers that are teaching this material and have them explain why this material is being taught. And if they can't, or they won't, or there isn't a good reason, well, let's use some other book that achieves that teaches the same lessons, that achieves the same educational goals without scandalizing our children. But then there's also the bigger problem, which is, okay, so we solved this problem, right? There's this one book, enough people have objected to it, they're going to take that out of the curriculum. What else? I reviewed with you a couple of things that I've been sent or that have emerged since this first book. What else is in the curriculum? What's in the middle schools? What's in the elementary schools? I don't know. Yeah, or there's all these little clubs that are that the kids are involved in. That what materials are being reviewed in there, and so. What we really need is a curriculum review in our school, and that's what those school board members are fighting for. That you're probably asking yourself right now, okay, well that's interesting, and I'm on board with that, or maybe you're not on board with that. But why is Pat Proctor, state representative, talking about this? Well, first of all, I'm a citizen of Leavenworth, just like all of you, and my tax dollars go to that school, same as all of you. But also. There is legislation that is moving through the Kansas State House which will address this on a state level. Because not every school board has great freedom fighters and great conservative members like our school board. And there are some things that are so important about protecting our children, about giving parents a say, that they shouldn't be optional for a school no matter who's in the school board, in my opinion. So there's a bill that's going through the House right now. It's House Bill 2662. And what it does is it requires schools to put the curricula on the internet so that parents can see it. I would like it to go further. I think that if you're going to teach sexually charged or offensive stuff to kids, parents should have to opt into that, not opt out, because we're busy, right? You get a letter in the mail, kid brings home a note, you just scribble and here, take it back, or But if parents have to opt in, if they have to say, yes, I want my kids exposed to this content, that's a different story, right? Now they're having to make a conscious decision. They pay attention. They're like, what? You want to teach my kid what? And then maybe some of this stuff fixes itself. But that's not what the bill says. Unfortunately, that's not what the bill says. And it's because we got to get 84 people, right? Because the governor's going to veto whatever we pass. So I'm definitely further to the right than this bill is. But I understand that we got to get what we can get to give parents a say in what's going on in our schools. So the first thing this bill does is it puts everything on the internet so that parents can see what their kids are learning. The next thing that it does is it formalizes a review process. If you saw in the paper the other day, if you saw in the paper, if you saw on Facebook on the school district's Facebook page. They had it, if you went to their website, there was an alert that popped up right when you went to their website where they had their statement about the material that's been exposed in the schools. And it basically boiled down to, if you're a teacher or if you're a parent and you don't like something, talk to the teacher. If she won't help you, he or she won't help you, talk to the principal, and they'll do a review. And if they agree with you, they'll let your kid not participate in it. Well, I've talked to people who've gone through that process. A couple folks whose kids are in 9th grade, and they heard about the book and they saw the book, and they're like, I don't want that twisted book. They didn't want their kids to be taught that book. By the time that the review process had completed, the book had been taught, and their kids had to sit in the class and listen to the teacher read out loud that book to them. So, okay, thank you for giving me a review process. Well, what this bill does is it creates a mechanism by which parents can object to material, and the material will be flagged so that other parents know about it. Because the school district statement said something to the effect of, well, only 5 people have objected to this book. Well, 5 people have objected to the book because 5 people knew the book was being taught. I guarantee, the video that I put out of Mr. Zeck's public comments right now it's got over 10,000 views. I haven't looked in a few days. And the school board, the district has gotten hundreds of emails. So I'm certain that if all those parents had known about this book before their kids were exposed to it, they would have objected, right? So that's the problem, is the parents don't know about the stuff, so they can't object to it. So what this bill does is it creates a mechanism where if parents object, the book becomes kind of flagged so that when it goes on to the internet, other parents will know that some parents have objected to the material, so they can zero in. Because if you've got to review your child's entire 1 year of curriculum, 8 hours, however many hours a day, it's too much information. But if certain things are flagged that, hey, parents have objected to this, you can zero in, you can look at it, and you say, well, yeah, that's fine for my kid, or no, that's not fine for my kid. So there's a lot of misinformation about this bill out there. The library, using your tax dollars, and the website that you paid for with your tax dollars has put out a statement in opposition to this bill, saying that it would ban books in their library. The legislative process, it's like writing a book, right? I've written a couple books. You write a draft, you turn it in. People look at it, no, that sucks, take that out, this is too wordy, we don't have room for this. You scratch it out, you turn it back in, you go back and forth. Well, legislation is iterative like that, right? You write legislation, the committee reviews it, they hear testimony from people who support it, they hear testimony from people who don't support it, and then they amend it. They take things out, they put things in until it's something that the whole committee can vote yes on. Well, that's what happened with this bill. And maybe, at the beginning of the session, the bill had some things in it. I don't know, because I got on board with this bill as it was coming out of committee. Maybe it had things in it, but what it has in it right now is what I just described to you. So there's nothing about public libraries. There's nothing about banning books, or it's just what I described to you. The final thing that the bill does, because I know I'm going to put this video up and somebody's going to say, you liar, it also says this. So the other thing that it does is, if your kid's going to get a survey in class, like say that vaccine survey where they're surveying to find out who in your household is vaccinated. If your kid's going to get a survey, that also has to be posted on the internet, and parents can object to that and have their kids not take that survey. So that's what's in the bill right now, okay? And there's, like I said, there's nothing about banning books, there's nothing about burning books. I just wanted to explain what's in the bill and why I'm supporting it. I love teachers. When I'm not in Topeka and I'm not in here being worked to death by my wife, I'm in Wichita and I teach. And I get the product of our K through 12 education system. And I teach in the Homeland Security program. I also teach some history. And my hat's off to teachers, because they've got a really hard job. you know, they're trying to balance what these administrators and what the teachers unions want with their responsibility to our kids. And I really think that this legislation also helps our teachers, because, you know, that you heard me talk about the process that the school board, that the school district described that's in place now. If the teacher is made by the curriculum writer to teach material, the parents don't go to the curriculum writer, and the parents don't go to the superintendent who's overseeing all that. The parents go to the teacher, and the parents are mad at the teacher because the teacher is teaching what he or she is told to teach. And so I really think that this is helpful to our teachers as well, because it takes the onus off of them and puts the onus back on the whole district to be transparent about what they're teaching and what they're not teaching.